Hey there, this is Red. It's time for Red Review. So today we're going to talk about some custom content. We're going to talk about the Prowler. So if you're looking for custom content, I'd say the place to go to is Hall of Heroes. So Hall of Heroes is a pretty good site for just Marvel Champions information in general. And it's going to give you some pointers that are going to take you to a Discord server where people are creating this custom content. So what I would say about the custom content is there's a lot of pretty cool looking heroes and villains out there. I don't think there's anything out there that would make me buy less Marvel Champions. Like, I still want to own all the stuff that's being put out by Fantasy Flight, but there's some things here that I want to print off to test out to enhance my gameplay experience at this point, because I've done a lot of plays and there's some other villains that are kind of fun to play against, kind of expand my repertoire of things to go up against. I haven't done any heroes yet, but I have done a few of the heroes, or sorry, a few of the villains. So the one we're going to talk about right now is the Prowler. I've got videos out there with the Lizard and Doc Ock, but let's go through the Prowler real quick. All right, so the Prowler, if you take a look at him, he's got 1 scheme and 2 attack at level 1. And the big thing about him is he's got this Invention side deck. And he's going to use it throughout all levels of the Prowler, and they're pretty much the same. Prowler doesn't change a whole lot from level to level. His scheme goes up by 1, and then his attack goes up by 1 as you advance through them. But all of them are going to have this Invention side deck. Now, what's the Invention side deck? So the Invention side deck is a little deck of cards that sits to the side, and the Prowler's going to have usually 1 or more different attachments onto him. So let's take a look at some of what the attachments are. And once you go through them, you reshuffle the deck and bring them back out again. So the first one, and this is probably the one that I hate the most, is the camouflage tech. So what this does is it makes it so you can't attack him unless you spend a mental resource. So for some heroes, this is not much of a problem at all. But like when I'm playing She-Hulk and I've got 4 cards in my hand, spending a mental resource and then having a mental resource can be a bit challenging from time to time. So that is a pretty annoying tech. Next one up is the wingsuit. That one does a damage to each character you control when he attacks. So that's a great one to take out all of your allies. We've got Air Gauntlet, so that's going to give you a stun after he attacks. So I really haven't ran into this one a whole lot. I tend to end up, for some reason, being on my alter ego side when these come out and haven't had to worry about them too much. The Getaway Jacket is one that I've ran into a lot, and I very much dislike this one. So when you initiate attack against the Prowler, he's going to deal a damage to the character. So it's different than Retaliate in that it doesn't happen after the attack. It's when you initiate the attack. So this can be quite painful when you're trying to pull off multiple attacks or do follow-ups and stuff like Black Widow I've been playing recently, where you get 3 attacks, you can take 3 damage, right? So the Getaway Jacket is a nasty one to get out there. The other one that is annoying is the Iron Spider Suit. So not only does it give him +1 attack, it's going to reduce any damage from an attack by 1. So the problem with that one is I'll get my hand and I'll be ready like, oh, it's the turn where I can take him out, and then I'll flip and he'll get this, and I don't have this stuff to take him out because he's a jerk. So there's that one. And then the Power Glider gives him additional boost card. So I've done enough Claw that really additional boost card coming out. Kind of used to that, but I really haven't had too much of a problem with this one. But it's a pain. So it depends on what level you're playing at too. I think during Expert, this is a little bit worse of a thing because you end up with those extra enhanced boost cards out there. So, okay. That's it for the Prowler's Invention. So what happens is the Prowler, if we go back to the Prowler and take a look at him, at the end of the phase, the Invention is going to go away and a new one's going to come out. And it happens the same for all of the Prowlers. So he's going to cycle through those Inventions, and then once the deck empties, you're going to reshuffle and they're going to come out. So I've had him up to 4 Inventions sitting on him at one point in time, so he can get pretty powerful using those. So the other thing to look at, we got hit points. What do we got? We got so you can spread them out just right there. Yep, 13, 15, and 17. So he doesn't have a ton of hit points, but those cards that he got makes him tough to hit sometimes. All right, the other thing about Prowler is When you go to 2 and 3, he really doesn't change a whole lot, but there's some side schemes that come out that are pretty powerful. So when Prowler 2 comes out, contract killing hits the table. And when 3 comes out, increased production comes out. And both of those, we'll see them later, are pretty powerful side schemes. So the fact that Prowler doesn't get a lot as he goes up in level as far as abilities and stuff, I think are offset by the fact that these are some pretty powerful side schemes to hit the board when he does level up. All right, so let's talk about the main thing. So what is it you're doing when you're fighting Prowler? So the first thing is you got stealing tech, right? So it's got your standard stuff and helping hand. So part of the reason I'm reviewing this is helping hands just came out. So I want to get the, we'll do a review of the helping hands modular set here also, because I was using running interference before as I played this, and helping hands is a lot different. So I'll probably be playing this pretty soon because I want to try it with the helping hands. Anyway, so if you got Prowler, he gets the Invention deck, you go to the next stage, and this is an interesting scheme in that after you place a threat on the main scheme, you have to make a choice as to whether you want to discard a card or place another threat there. So this ends up being a really tough choice when you have a character that doesn't have a whole lot of cards in their hand as to what you're going to do. So my She-Hulk aggression deck that I like to play, this is actually a pretty tough choice, trying to figure out where to go here. All right, so once you get through with this one, you pop over to the Lab Escape. So the Lab Escape is going to give him another invention, so then you're going to end up with him usually having 2 inventions at that point in time. And then you jump over to, this is one that I struggle with. So it takes, and solo, it takes 9 for it to go off, and it starts with 2. The part that I struggle with is remembering that when you initiate an attack, a threat goes there. So it's a very tough card for characters that like to do small multi-attack. So I think Black Widow is going to struggle with this card. Black Widow's got a lot of threat mitigation, but once this gets out there, I don't know. I mean, she's a lot about pinging things. So somebody that does like Iron Man's Big Blast, not as much of a problem. But Black Widow, who likes to jump off her prep cards and do, well, that won't do it. I'm trying to think. Her 3 attack, her 1, 2, 3 attack is going to generate 3 threat there, right? So that's going to be pretty rough. So we'll see how that works out with Black Widow pretty soon here. Yeah, so let's talk about what's in the encounter deck for Prowler. The first thing you've got is tech malfunction. So what happens here is essentially Prowler's inventions explode, and you're going to take 2 direct damage is going to get assigned for each, 2 indirect damage is going to get assigned for each invention that explodes. Now that's going to be distributed among, there was a clarification I got from the creator, that's distributed among all the players. So if he has 4 inventions, you've got 6 indirect damage coming out, and all the players have to decide how to assign all of that damage. This may be reworded in the latest version of this. I'll have to check that out. So this one has caused me some problems. Usually it's just 1 going off, and it's not all that big of a deal. But if 2, 3 of them go off, then it becomes a problem. The boost generally tends to be he gets +1 boost because he's usually only got 1 invention. When it is the 3 or 4, which I have seen happen, this becomes a pretty rough card. All right, and so there are 3 of them in the deck. Next one up is Stealthy Stealing. This takes 3 cards off your deck for each invention he has. Again, not all that horrible with just 1, but you get him with 2 or 3 inventions out there and he starts milling your deck pretty fast. The boost of discard 3 cards seems kind of innocuous, but it does help you churn through your deck really fast. And there are 1, 2, 3 of those in there. All right, so let's take a look at the side scheme here. Burglary. Burglary, I think I've only came across once. And everybody's going to throw a card underneath there. So in my mind, this really isn't all that bad because you're putting a random card underneath there and eventually you get it back. The downside to this is a lot of times it will happen and I've gotten my cards and there's the 1 card I'm ready to play, right? And chances are that turns up being the random card that ends up underneath the burglary. So, not usually a problem, but in the right circumstances, it could really mess you up. Okay, next up is contract killing. So remember, this one comes out when Prowler 2 comes out. So if you take a look at that one, it's a crisis. And then the tough part about that one is when the fill-in phase begins, each hero takes 2 damage. So he starts to spread a lot of damage around. So usually, I mean, you're taking care of the crises before the main scheme because you gotta. But this is when you want to get off the board pretty quick, especially if you're a low health hero. That damage will pile up really quick. So you need to get that out of there. All right, next up. So this one is when Prowler 3 comes out. Also, this comes out. So it's got 3 boost icons. This is a beast of a card. What's going to happen is Prowler is going to, on the hero phase, he gets another invention. So he's going to end up with 2 inventions. And then also he's going to get an extra encounter card. So this really speeds things up and makes Prowler a lot tougher to play against. With all the inventions out there, and then those cards that go off of his inventions being brought out more often because you're getting extra encounter cards, this one just snowballs things really badly. So it's another target. There's a lot of, in other games or side schemes, I don't care if that side scheme comes out. In this game, most of the side schemes, I want to get out of there right away. Like, they're bothersome. Okay, I really like this minion that comes out, the Tinkerer. When he comes out, he's going to scheme, which I like that. I like that ability that when he enters play, he schemes. It seems like it fits the Tinkerer very well. And then usually it's only 1, but sometimes he hits and he's got 2 or 3. What I will note is he's got 4 health, so he's kind of a healthy guy, and he's not just simple to take out. Usually you have to put a little bit of effort into taking him out. So I think this is a really good card. It's got the health, enough health to be annoying. Doesn't attack for a ton, but his ability there can be kind of problematic, and it makes you really not want to go over to your alter ego, because Prowler, especially towards the end game where the Prowler potentially has 2, 3 tech on him, and he starts, when the minion's scheming for 2 or 3, that's bad news. All right, moving on. Iron Spider Bot. So you look at these and you're like, oh, it's not a problem. I mean, it's a 1/1. It's got 2 health that are easy to take out. But it's got Surge. So when it comes out, it's just another card that comes out. And that is really annoying, right? So he pops and then another one comes out right afterwards. The other part is it's going to give the Prowler another invention, which is not horrible, but can set you up. Well, it can create some problems. So usually, trying to think, you're defeating it, and then you're going into the Prowler's turn at that point in time. So that sets him up for a tougher round. So yeah, you have to be really careful about these. And then the boost is he just comes into play. So yeah, that it doesn't look that bad, but it can be a pretty annoying card. All right, new toys. So these essentially add an invention to the Prowler. So it's a pretty basic idea. There's 3 of them. When they come up, it's frustrating, but not horrible, right? I like that it doesn't happen at the time that the card comes out. So if you look at it, it comes when the hero phase begins. So that way it's going to go all the way through your turn and all the way through Prowler's turn before he hits his normal discard where he clears inventions and then draws new ones. So I like how they did the timing on this one to ensure that it sticks out there for a while. Now, Prowler's rifle, I don't think I've actually ran across in a game yet. So he gets ranged and piercing. And if I understand correctly, ranged means that if you retaliate doesn't hit him because you're attacking from range. And then piercing, I believe, not only does it bypass your tough, it removes tough and then still does damage. So if Prowler were to attack with this rifle and he's got 2 attack and you've got tough, it's just going to blow your tough out and do 2 damage to you. So not awesome if you've got Luke Cage out there or somebody like that you're planning on sitting on tough. This is going to blow right through it. I think the other thing is that in order to get rid of it, you're going to give him another invention. So that's pretty frustrating too, that the remove is actually going to give him more stuff in order to get rid of that. So, all right, so that's everything Prowler, I think, at this point in time. And I would highly recommend this one. I've had a lot of fun playing against this character, so Prowler's a good time. Now, the minion set that's recommended to go with him just came out. So it's this minion set. It's the Helping Hands. I was playing with Running Interference, which was pretty rough when you get the Running Interference cards, right? But this Helping Hands one looks interesting. So it's based around Doc Ock, and there's a lot of Doc Ocks in here from the multiverse, right? So there's a lot of hands that are helping. So it makes sense. It's thematic, right? So your first Doc Ock there, 2 attack, 2 scheme, and you get an extra encounter card. And then as a boost, he keeps going back into the encounter deck. So that is an annoying boost. He's going to add 2, and then he's going to go back into the encounter deck. So you're going to run into him again. That looks frustrating. All right, next up we've got Dr. Octopussycat, which when you defeat Dr. Octopussycat, instead of being defeated, you're going to flip a card. And if it's got more than 2 boost icons, we're going to heal him and he's going to stay in play. So most of the time he's going to go away, but you start playing on expert mode or in some of these decks that have a lot of 3 boost cards, he might stay out a little bit more. So he's not all that rough of a minion. He's got the 4 health, which is just above. I think 3 is kind of like a fairly easy kill minion. Most 3s you can take out. 4 is, to me, is that step that's just a little bit above that makes it just a little bit tougher in order to take him out. So not a huge threat. He's 1/1 and he's only 1 boost icon. So I think he's probably the easiest of the ones that are there. She's in a tie, I would say. So she's also very situational. So she's got XX, where she's going to be 1 by herself. But if you have other Octo Army cards out there, you're looking at her potentially being like a 4 or a 5. Yeah, she could. I mean, she can get a lot bigger, right? And the other part of that is you're going to look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, and if there's another Octo Army, it's going to come out. So she can bring friends, and that's a problem. All right, so here's our 4th, which is Odo Octavius. And he's a 1/3, so he's got a ton of attack. And when he comes out, you're going to lose a upgrade or support card. And then if it's a minor one, less than 2, then he's going to gain tough. So that's with 3 attack, he's going to get a tough and 4 health. He seems like a pretty powerful minion to run up against. And then he's got that other boost too, where when he comes out, he's going to drop 2 boost icons, and then he's going to go back into the deck. So him and the first Doc Ock, I think, are the ones to be wary of in this set. All right. So you get an Octo Assault. And this is the villain's going to attack. And if there are other Octo Army cards out there, he's going to get more boost cards. So yuck. Don't like that one. This one is another advance, essentially. So you're dropping, and advance is one of the most painful cards for me to run into in the game. So when you hit advance, the villain's going to scheme. And then if the Octo Army card, any of the Octo Army card is in play, you're going to get confused. So throwing another advance in the deck is just ugly to me. All right. And then the last 2 of this deck are the Mechanical Arms device. So it's going to go to the villain, and when the villain attacks, he's going to get additional card. So I think the rough. So that's pretty rough in itself, right? The other part of that is, in order to get rid of it, you're going to go searching through the deck for an Octo Army card, and it's going to come out. So I'm not sure that I want to get rid of that, because you're going to mill the deck and more Octo Army cards are going to come out. And most of those are pretty bad. Not too happy with any of those. So I'm not sure. I'm going to replace Running Interference with this, and I'm not sure that this is going to be easier than Running Interference. I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to get that horrible deck out of there, and I'm going to put this other modular deck in there and it'll be okay. And I don't know that it's going to be okay. I think it may end up being worse. So at least there won't be media coverage. That'll be good. All right. So that's a quick coverage of Prowler and the new Modular encounter Helping Hands out there, I would highly recommend Prowler. I've had a lot of fun playing against this character, and you will probably see Black Widow versus Prowler pretty soon. So if you played Prowler, let me know what you think. What are you using? If you haven't, Helping Hands just came out. What were you using for a side scheme, and did it work well with Prowler or not? What you think? So let me know. If you got some comments, throw them in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching.